Stop. Before you scroll away, look at your bank account right now. See that number? That's not your wealth. That's your slavery payment, updated for the modern world. And I can prove it with a 2,000-year-old coin that most people walk past in museums without realizing it holds the secret to why they'll work their entire lives and still die worried about money. What you're about to discover will make you physically uncomfortable because you'll realize you've been living inside a system designed in ancient Rome, a system that was specifically created to keep soldiers obedient, exhausted, and dependent. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented history. And by the end of this documentary, you'll never look at a paycheck the same way again. The clock is ticking. Let's go. Imagine standing in the brutal heat of a Roman courtyard in the year 320 AD. Dust swirls around your feet. Your armor weighs heavy on your shoulders after a 12-hour patrol. Your name is Marcus, and you're a soldier in the most powerful military machine the world has ever seen. Today is payment day, and you're exhausted, hungry, and desperate. Your commanding officer approaches with a heavy sack, and when it's your turn, he pours something into your calloused, scarred hands. But it's not gold. It's not silver. It's salt. White, crystalline, precious salt. You don't complain because complaining means punishment. You don't question because questioning means death. You take your salt, your salarium, and you know exactly what this means. You have 2 weeks to trade this for food, for shelter, for survival, before you have to stand in this courtyard again, exhausted and desperate, waiting for your next payment. This is where your salary was born. This moment right here. The word you use every 2 weeks when that direct deposit hits your account. The word that makes you feel accomplished and secure came from this courtyard where exhausted men received barely enough to survive until the next payment. And here's the part that should send a chill down your spine. The system hasn't changed at all. But Marcus wasn't alone in Rome that day. And this is where the story becomes a mystery you need to solve. Because while Marcus stood in that dusty courtyard trading his body and his time, and quite possibly his life for salt, that would be gone within days, someone else was waking up in a marble villa on the cool hills overlooking the city. Let's call him Quintus. And here's what's fascinating. Quintus never wore armor, never stood guard, never fought, never bled for Rome. Yet when Marcus received enough salt to survive for 2 weeks, Quintus woke up to discover he'd become wealthier overnight while he slept. How is that possible? What did Quintus know that Marcus didn't? Hold that question in your mind, because the answer is worth more than every paycheck you'll ever receive. Quintus owned a secret that has survived 2,000 years, passed down quietly among families who understand how wealth actually works. He owned things that worked while he rested. He owned farmland where 50 laborers grew wheat and olives, and every harvest, a portion of that wealth flowed to him. He owned shares in a merchant ship that sailed to Egypt, and every time it docked with spices and silk, a portion of that profit belonged to him. He owned part of a silver mine where men he would never meet extracted ore from deep in the earth, and every bar of silver included his share. Whether Quintus was eating grapes, taking a bath, traveling to his summer estate, or sleeping under silk sheets, his farms produced, his ships sailed, and his mines yielded. Money flowed to him like water running downhill, unstoppable and constant. Now here's where your brain needs to make a critical connection. Think about Marcus and Quintus not as ancient history, but as 2 different blueprints, 2 completely different instruction manuals for how to earn money that have existed side by side for thousands of years. The Marcus blueprint says this: trade your time and your body's energy for payment, and when you stop trading, the payment stops. The Quintus blueprint says this: own assets that generate value without consuming your time, and the value continues whether you work or not. Both blueprints survived the fall of Rome. Both blueprints walked through every century. Both blueprints are operating right now, today, in your life. Let me show you exactly how. Marcus served 25 years in the Legion. 25 years of marching in formation through hostile territory. 25 years of building roads under the scorching sun. 25 years of standing guard through frozen nights where the cold bit into his bones. 25 years of watching friends die in battle, their blood soaking into foreign soil. When he finally retired, Rome gave him a small plot of land and a pension that covered bare survival. He grew vegetables. He raised chickens. When his body gave out from decades of brutal labor, when sickness came, when bad weather destroyed his crops, he had nothing to fall back on. He'd traded 10,000 days of his life for survival, and when he died, he left his children almost nothing. They would become soldiers too, or servants, or laborers. The cycle would repeat, generation after generation, like a wheel that never stops turning. Follow Quintus through those same 25 years and watch something completely different unfold. His farmland became more valuable as Rome expanded and needed more food to feed its growing population. He bought more land with his profits. His merchant contacts grew stronger, and he invested in more ships, more trade routes, more exotic goods. His wealth didn't just grow, it compounded. Like a snowball rolling down a mountain, gathering more snow with each rotation, becoming larger and heavier and more powerful. When Quintus died, he left his children farms, businesses, trade connections, political relationships, and most importantly, knowledge about how the system actually works. His children were born wealthy. They would never stand in a courtyard waiting for payment. They would never trade their hours for survival. They would own the courtyard. They would be the ones deciding who gets paid and how much. Now, before we go further, I need you to do something for me. And this is important for what we're building together on this channel. If this documentary is changing how you see your own financial situation, if you're starting to recognize which blueprint you've been following, show me by hitting that like button right now. It tells YouTube to share this with more people who need to hear it. And drop a comment telling me this. Are you currently living as Marcus or Quintus? Just those words, Marcus or Quintus. I read every single comment, and I want to understand where you are right now so I can create content that actually helps you move from one blueprint to the other. And if you haven't subscribed to Easy Finance yet, click that subscribe button. Because we're building a community of people who refuse to follow the Marcus blueprint for their entire lives. We're done being modern Roman soldiers waiting for our salt. Now, back to the story, because this is where it gets personal. You woke up this morning to an alarm. You showered, you dressed, you commuted. Maybe you sat at a desk. Maybe you stood at a station. Maybe you drove a route. Maybe you served customers. Maybe you wrote code. Maybe you analyzed spreadsheets. Maybe you managed people. Maybe you built things with your hands. You did this for 8 hours, maybe more. Then you went home. Every 2 weeks, a number appears in your bank account. This is your salary, your salarium, your salt. And here's the truth that's going to sting. You are Marcus. Right now, today, you are standing in that ancient Roman courtyard with your hand outstretched, waiting for your payment. The technology changed. The currency changed. The empire changed. But the structure is identical. If you don't show up tomorrow, the payment stops. If you get sick for too long, the payment stops. If the company decides they don't need you, the payment stops. You are trading your time, hour by hour, day by day, year by year, for survival. And somewhere, right at this exact moment, someone is waking up in their version of a villa on a hill. They're checking their phone and seeing that their rental properties generated income while they slept. Their investment accounts grew overnight. Their online business made sales in 3 different time zones. Their royalties from a book or a patent or a piece of software deposited automatically into their account. Their Quintus. The empire fell. The language changed. The technology evolved. But the fundamental structure is exactly, precisely, completely the same as it was in 320 AD. Now, here's where most documentaries would leave you feeling depressed and hopeless, but that's not what we're doing here. Because there's something about ancient Rome that changes everything. Marcus and Quintus weren't born into completely unchangeable positions carved in stone. Rome had social mobility. Some soldiers saved portions of their salt payments carefully and bought small plots of land. Some merchants started with nothing and built trading empires. Some freed slaves became wealthier than the families that once owned them. The empire was full of people who started on the Marcus path and intentionally, strategically, year by year, moved toward the Quintus path. They did something that you can start doing today, right now, this week. Imagine you're carrying water from a river to your house in buckets. That's the Marcus way. You carry a bucket, you pour it into your tank. You have water. You stop carrying buckets, you run out of water. It's simple, direct, exhausting. But what if every day, instead of just carrying buckets, you also placed one stone toward building a pipe from the river to your house? For a long time, you'd still be carrying buckets. The pipe wouldn't be finished. You'd be doing double work, which sounds terrible, but you'd be working on both systems simultaneously. Then one day, after months or years of placing stones, the pipe is complete. Water flows to your house automatically. You can stop carrying buckets forever. You can rest. You can travel. You can spend time with people you love. The water still flows. That's what the successful people in ancient Rome did. That's what the successful people today do. They work their Marcus job, their time for money trade, but they take a portion of that payment and buy assets. A small piece of land, part ownership in a business, stocks in companies, anything that can generate value without requiring their constant presence. They build their pipe while carrying buckets. It's hard. It's slow. It requires patience and discipline and sacrifice. But the alternative is carrying buckets until your body gives out. The Roman Empire eventually fell. The legions disbanded. The marble villas crumbled. The roads cracked and were swallowed by forests and time. But this economic structure, this fundamental choice between trading time for payment versus owning assets that generate income, survived perfectly intact. It walked through the Middle Ages, where peasants worked the land for lords who owned the land. It walked through the Industrial Revolution, where factory workers traded hours for wages while factory owners built empires. It walked through the birth of corporations, stock markets, the internet age, the gig economy, right into this moment where you're watching this documentary. You already know this is true because you felt it. You've seen it. You've watched someone inherit a family business or a trust fund and thought about how fundamentally different their life is from yours. You've heard about someone who bought rental properties 20 years ago and now lives off the income while you're still working. You've wondered why you can work so incredibly hard, give so much of yourself, sacrifice so much time with your family, and still feel like you're running on a treadmill, exhausting yourself, but never actually getting anywhere. You're not crazy. You're not lazy. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just on the Marcus blueprint, and no amount of hard work on the Marcus blueprint will give you the results of the Quintus blueprint. The answer has been stamped on ancient coins sitting in museums for 2,000 years. The answer is in the word you use every 2 weeks when you check your bank account. Salary, salarium, salt. A payment that preserves you for another few weeks until you have to trade more time for more salt, over and over, until you can't anymore. But here's what makes your situation different from Marcus. Here's your advantage. Marcus couldn't read. Marcus had no access to information about how the wealthy operated. Marcus lived in a rigid society where asking questions could get you killed. You have knowledge. You have options. You have access to assets that Roman soldiers couldn't even dream of. You can buy a piece of a company with a few clicks on your phone. You can create digital products that sell while you sleep. You can learn skills that let you build systems instead of just trading hours. You can start a side business for almost no money. You can invest in real estate through platforms that let you own tiny fractions of properties. You can build an audience online and create value that compounds over time. The tools are different, wildly different, but the principle Quintus understood is exactly the same. Own things that generate value without consuming all of your time. Here's your path forward, and I want you to understand this is simpler than you think, more achievable than you believe, and more urgent than you realize. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. You don't have to take reckless risks that could destroy your life. You don't have to become someone you're not. You just have to start building your pipe while you carry your buckets. Take a portion of your salary, however small, 10% if you can, 5% if you can't, even 1% if that's where you have to start, and direct it toward buying or building assets. Learn about investments. Start a side project that could eventually run without you. Develop skills that increase in value over time rather than being consumed in the moment. Read books written by people who made the transition. Find mentors. Join communities of people on the same journey. Every single small step, every single dollar redirected, every single hour invested in learning moves you from the Marcus blueprint toward the Quintus blueprint. This isn't about getting rich quick. This is about understanding a structure that's been operating for 2,000 years and making an intentional, conscious choice about which side of that structure you want to be on 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you're old and your body doesn't work the way it does today. Because here's the truth that ancient coin whispers across the centuries. Your salary isn't a scam in the sense that someone is deliberately cheating you or lying to you. It's a scam in the sense that it's a system that feels like progress, feels like success, feels like you're building something, but is actually designed to keep you in exactly the same place. It feels good to receive that payment every 2 weeks. It feels like you're being rewarded for your hard work. But if you never convert that payment into assets, if you never build your own farms and ships and mines, you'll work until your body can't anymore, and you'll leave your children exactly where you started. The wheel keeps turning. Marcus stood in that courtyard for decades, salt in his calloused hands, believing he was building a life, believing he was providing for his family, believing he was doing everything right. And he was, but only barely. Only enough to survive. Only enough to make it to the next payment. Quintus understood something deeper, something that wealthy families teach their children but rarely share with anyone else. True wealth isn't what you can earn by working. True wealth is what works for you while you rest, while you play, while you love, while you live. The dust has settled on the Roman Forum. The sound of legions marching has faded into silence. The empire that seemed eternal crumbled into ruins. But the choice remains, crystallized in a single word we say without thinking, without questioning. Salary. Will you spend your life earning salt? Or will you build the empire? The ancient coin has given you its answer. Now you have to give yours. Your time is running out, not because death is coming tomorrow, but because every single day you stay on the Marcus blueprint is a day you could have spent building your pipe. Every paycheck that arrives without you directing a portion toward assets is an opportunity lost forever. Don't let another 2 weeks pass without asking yourself this question. Am I trading my time for survival, or am I building assets that will eventually buy my time back? The Roman Empire fell, but its lessons live forever in the structures we still use, the words we still speak, the choices we still make. Which blueprint will you choose? Marcus or Quintus? Salt or empire? Buckets or pipes? The decision you make today, the actions you take this week, will echo through your entire life, through your children's lives, and beyond. Now, here's what I need from you, and this is important. We're not just making videos here at Easy Finance. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept the Marcus blueprint as their destiny. We're creating a movement of modern Roman soldiers who looked at the system, understood how it actually works, and decided to build something different. If you're part of that movement, if you're ready to stop being Marcus and start building like Quintus, then subscribe to this channel right now. Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every video we create is designed to give you one more tool, one more strategy, one more piece of knowledge that moves you closer to financial freedom. Share this documentary with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's exhausted from carrying buckets, someone who's ready to start building their pipe. And drop a comment right now telling me what your first step is going to be. Are you going to open an investment account? Start that side business you've been thinking about? Read a book on real estate? Learn a new skill? Tell me your first step. Because when you declare it publicly, you're 3 times more likely to actually do it. We're in this together. We're building this together. Let's prove that 2,000 years of history doesn't have to determine your future. Now go build your pipe. I'll see you in the next video.